I'm Phil, the Seoul Snob. I've been living in Korea for a while, and I'm a complete snob when it comes to food. I know good food when I see it, so let me show you some of my favorite spots.
So we're here in Hanam-dong. We're visiting Pizzeria D'buzza. I tried to look it up, what it means in Italian. Nothing came up. I think it's a play on words from buja, which means rich in Korean. Anyways, this is one of the most popular pizza places in all of Seoul. It's been around for many, many years, and they've opened up 4 locations now. 2 here in Hanam-dong, 1 in Abuja, and 1 elsewhere. It's really known to have very long lineups, but I think now that there's more locations opened up, the lineups have kind of disappeared. This is an Italian style pizzeria. They have a wood-fired oven here in the back there that you can see, and these ovens are traditionally used to make Neapolitan style pizzas. The special thing about these ovens is here at Buja Pizza, it's actually a brick oven pizza, which means they use bricks to maintain the heat of that oven. Often enough, these ovens run overnight, even when there's no customers here, just to make sure that that oven temperature stays very, very high. These temperatures of these ovens go up to 1,000 degrees Celsius. So when you're making Neapolitan pizza, the classic elements of a Neapolitan pizza are very, very thin crust with classic tomato sauce and mozzarella cheese cooked at a very, very high temperature to create like a cheetah print on the pizza crust itself. I went with the classic Margarita, which is just tomato sauce, mozzarella, and basil. That's going to be on a very, very thin crust. The other option is the Margarita con Bufala, which the only difference is they use buffalo mozzarella, which has a little bit higher water content. But I want to really try the classic here. It's only 10,700 won. We placed our order not too long ago, and the pizza's already come out. And the reason that is because when you're cooking Neapolitan style pizza, like I said, the oven's at 900, sometimes 1,000 degrees. So after you make the pizza, all you have to do is put it in the oven for 2 or 3 minutes and it comes out hot and ready to go. So let's take a look at the first pizza we ordered here. This is called the Alla Romana. So this was the pizza I said that had the potato, the rosemary, and the smoked cheese on top here. One thing to note about this pizza in particular is looking at the crust here. So we say that this has kind of like a cheetah print crust on it. That means that the oven was cooked at a very, very high temperature, and you can see that the crust formed these little black spots here, like a cheetah. Very, very delicious. So on the inside, you should expect a very, very chewy crust. On the outside, you have a nice crisp crust that was created from that high heat from the oven. Looking at this pizza too, you see these nice pieces here of cheese, as well as the rosemary on top. And this doesn't have a tomato base, but it has a cream sauce base. This is a typical style of Italian pizza, which I said has the cream sauce, rosemary, and potato paired together. All right, so taking a look at the crust here, you can see that there's some air bubbles and air pockets that are created. This is very, very important when you're having really nice thin crust pizza, is to have a lot of air pockets in the crust. The way to achieve this is to let the pizza dough sit overnight, let the yeast do its work, and really have that fluffy, fluffy crust. Let's have a taste here. Very, very delicious. Different style than the classic Neapolitan because it uses the cream sauce, but there's a lot of fat content in there with all the cheese and the cream sauce together, paired with the rosemary. It makes a very, very nice and pleasant, not too overwhelming flavor, but a nice light flavor from the cream sauce and the cheese combined together. The crust is cooked perfectly. Very, very delicious. I love the cream sauce. It's something different from their classic Margherita pizza. I think if you're going to order pizzas at Buja Pizza, you should get a variety of different styles just to taste everything that they have to offer. And then you can choose your favorite one based off that. All right, the second pizza here is the original Margarita. So you can see again, just like the first pizza here, we have that nice cheetah print on the crust here. You can also see that it's puffed up in quite a few different areas, which means that they let the crust sit for 24, sometimes 48 hours before cooking it, letting the yeast take its work and really puffing up that crust. We see that this has just 3 ingredients. You see the tomato sauce, the fresh basil on top, and the mozzarella cheese here. Now this is the classic original Neapolitan pizza, Margarita. It doesn't get simpler than this when it comes to Italian pizza. This is the staple in Naples. So let's give it a taste. All right, so the flavors that stand out in this right away is the tomato sauce. I don't know exactly how they make it, but they must use really nice, fresh Italian tomatoes. Italian tomatoes have different levels of quality. There's DOP and DOC tomatoes. I think that they're approved by the Italian Board of Tomatoes. I'm not too sure much about it, but I do know that there's definitely different qualities of tomatoes that require different standards when farming them. Right away, I haven't had this type of tomato in what feels like forever. It almost has like a wine style aftertaste. Like I taste a little bit of red wine. I think that's because of the acidity from the tomatoes, but it tastes so good. And that's really the driving flavor from this is the tomatoes. The cheese is very nice, just a typical mozzarella cheese. Not the buffalo mozzarella, however, it's cow's mozzarella, but still is quite nice. And those few little pieces of fresh basil on top really add a little bit of extra punch of flavor. Not only did they do that, they've also drizzled it with some olive oil right at the end of cooking. Overall, this margarita is really delicious. I've been to quite a few pizza places here in Seoul. I always order the margarita because that really lets you know how good the pizza place is. They don't try to dress up some lackluster ingredients and quality of ingredients by just putting tons of stuff on it. If you order the margarita, you're really gonna know if they do what they do very well, because it's only 3 ingredients. You can't hide the fact that you're using cheap tomatoes or cheap cheese. If you order the margarita, that's how you're gonna know that it's a really legit pizza place. So here we have the D'buzza calzone. I'm quite impressed with what it looks like because normal calzones in the United States and Canada have like a boatload of cheese on top and it's like overly crowded, but this looks very simple. And you can see that it looks like a pizza that's actually been folded in half because that's basically what it is here. So you can see on the ends here, the crust is quite thick because like I said, they've actually folded the pizza over here. So if you're a crust lover, this is definitely a good option to have because you get that nice chewy, crunchy crust on the ends of the calzone here. So let's cut it in half just to take a look at what's inside here. Well, I can already feel the cheese coming through right there. There's quite a nice serving of olive oil on the top that's been drizzled on as well. You can see that here. Might have to spread that out a little bit. All right, so let's take a look at the inside here. It looks quite simple here with some mascarpone cheese, some basil on top, the tomato sauce, and of course the olive oil here. It's important that with your first bite that you try to get a little bit of everything on top. So I'm gonna have that nice basil leaf on top there. So you can see on this piece, there's a lot of creamy cheese there on the side. I think that was the mascarpone cheese that they put in there. It looks totally delicious. All right, so let's have a taste. Oh my God. All you taste is that like nice creamy cheese in there. It's not too fatty. The tomato is actually not the winner here. Like the Margherita pizza where I was saying the tomato is really the driving flavor. In the calzone, it feels like that creamy cheese is really what's driving the flavor in this. Really delicious. If you're a cheese lover, I'd highly recommend getting a calzone. That burst of creamy cheese is so satisfying to take a bite into. The crust is actually not as thick as I was expecting. I thought that since they folded it over, you're kind of getting double the crust, but the crust was by no means overwhelming or too chewy. Really nicely balanced here. Very simple ingredients they used here. Again, there's not too many flavors going on. I find in Korea, they often put a lot of ingredients on pizza and that kind of takes away from some of the flavors that you really want to taste, that tomato sauce, the cheese, or the crust. So I'd recommend if you're trying to order Neapolitan style pizza or Italian style pizza, simple is best, especially at a place that uses such high quality ingredients such as D'buzza Pizza.